Hey there folks, Matt with 1T Fit and Finish. Putting together a kitchen backsplash over drywall. Check it out. Let's start with masking off the countertop. I set up the laser level and look for the lowest and the highest tile in the bottom run. I'll trim the bottoms of these tiles to make sure the bottom row is as level as possible. I check the math to see how many tiles will be on the first row. I figured 2 little 1/4 of a tile slivers buried in the corner will be just fine. I snap a chalk line for redundancy and then head out and set up the tile saw. I'm using Schluter Jolly as trim on the ends of the backsplash. The wet saw leaves a pretty smooth cut, but you have to take it slow so the saw doesn't grab the aluminum and bind. Trim the fins on the jolly and smooth the cuts. I temporarily tape the jolly to the wall. Once it's embedded in the mortar, it's permanently affixed. Let's start setting some tile. When marking half of a tile, a lot of times I'll just use another tile. The length is often equal to 2 widths plus a 1/16 of an inch grout line. Scoring and cracking the tiles is the fastest, cleanest way to trim the tiles. Unfortunately, it looks like my carbide is a bit dull and is causing too much chipping. I'll use the wet saw for the rest of the install. For most of this install, I back buttered or combed the mastic directly onto the tile. However, there were a couple of places where I was able to comb the adhesive onto the wall, speeding up the process. I'm using a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch notch trowel. So I set the majority of the tile backsplash yesterday, the big field. I can't stress enough how important it is to get this bottom row set correctly and completely level. That dictates the rest of the tiles above it. Today we're going to talk about just this wall. It's going to encompass everything that I had to do on this other wall, except we can do it in a condensed and abridged version. For the half cuts, I used my 120 grit diamond pad to clean up the edge to almost factory smooth before installing. When tiling around an outlet, I use a spacer between the tile and the same row and mark where the edges of the outlet are. Then place the spacer on the tile below and mark just below the location of the screw holding the outlet in the box. This is very important. do not cover the screw. When cutting notches into the tile, I tilt the tile to change the angle of the blade. Using the angle grinder with the ruby diamond blade, I carefully trim between the lines on the front of the tile, making sure not to go past the line. Then flip the tile over and cut the rest of the way through from the back. Then trim up any sharp corners if needed. This is a good example of the metal tabs on the outlet. There needs to be just enough room to be able to move the outlet from behind the tile after grouting so the metal ears can sit on top of the tile and the covers will be flush. I'm checking for lippage as I'm installing these tiles. Lippage is where the adjacent tile isn't quite flush. Throughout the process, I'm pushing on the tiles to line up and sometimes removing them to add a little more mortar to the back. I want the cut edge of these tiles to finish at the bottom of the cupboards. I line up the tiles backward and mark where the cuts should be. I'm also holding the tile down 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of the cupboard to allow for the grout line. I then transfer the marks to the front of the tile and cut them face up on the tile saw. I did dry fit each one of these tiles, but I cut that part out because the video was pretty boring.
Using a utility knife and a damp sponge, I clean the mastic out of the grout lines. The grout is gray and the white mastic would show through. I mask off the countertop one last time for grouting. This time, I mask the top of the countertop backsplash. Time to mix the grout as per the manufacturer's instructions. I actually measured the water this time. Kind of. I mix about half the bag for this small grout job.
I'm going to start with the hardest part first, the corner.
When I apply grout, I push the loose grout into the space between the tiles, doing my best to work at 45-degree angles to the grout lines. After the grout has had a chance to set a little, it's important to remove some of it with the grout float held at about a 90-degree angle. This removes the majority of the buildup on the surface of the tile. I'm not too worried about filling the lines between the tile and the stone countertop backsplash. I'll be applying color-matched sanded caulk in all of the corners. After about 15 minutes, I do a light initial wipe with the large sponge. This further removes the buildup on the face of the tile, and I can check for voids. After about another 10 minutes, and this is just my technique, I go over all of the grout lines with a damp sponge and shape the grout lines to make them all uniform. Remove all the masking and sponge one last time with clean water to get rid of most of the haze. I could leave everything as is and buff it out in the morning, but I'm going to let the grout cure overnight before caulking, and the homeowner might need to use the kitchen. This is why it's so important not to tile over the screws on your outlets. You need to be able to pull your outlets from behind the tile, and the metal ears need to be able to rest outside the tile so that the outlets and covers will be flush. The next day, I tape all of the visible caulk lines. This ensures that my lines are laser sharp and straight. I'm looking for about 1/8 of an inch when masking. Most people don't bother with the lines under the cupboards. I still caulk them for pest control and a professional finished product. Just like when painting, you remove the tape before the caulk dries. I clean and buff the countertops one last time to make sure there's no adhesive, grout, or caulk left on the surface. Alright, well that wraps up this kitchen backsplash. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications for new videos. This is Matt with 1T Fit and Finish. Thanks for watching.